So yeah, as you introduced, the topic of today will be the development of healthy food additives using data science. So as Francesco already shortly introduced me, I'm indeed a former PhD student at Leiden University. But before that, I studied in Amsterdam at the VU. And there I did pharmaceutical sciences. And then I did expertise in computational medicinal chemistry. And I found out during my master's that I liked this computer stuff and programming and data science so much that I wanted to pursue this interest in doing this PhD. And I think this was really one of the best choices that I made. So I'm happy that I made a choice, and also, of course, I completed my PhDs with also a list of publications. So I think this was a really good opportunity for me as well. Currently, I'm working indeed as an information manager, which is actually a mix of being a data scientist and a data engineer. So this is at Onderdinges Gravenhagen, which is an insurance company, but I'm not really into that finance stuff yet, but I do a lot of the data side of it. So data research on a big scale. So we're also working with more of this industry standards, like using data hubs and a data lake, which is, I think, really interesting. So I'm a bit broadening my knowledge here in not only being a data scientist, but also exploring like the bigger architecture of data and being also a data engineer. And today's topic will be about one of my research topics during my PhD, the one that I also won this Krijn Rietveld Memorial Innovation Award with, which you can see the picture on the right. So indeed, it was this year's award. And actually this research is very, very interesting because it's a mix of 3 different kind of fields. So you have the pharmaceutical sciences, which is more into the biochemistry. You have the data science, which uses the computational modeling, and the food and nutrition, which highlights also the healthy diet. And the topic that I will talk about today is actually development of products for the treatment of diabetes type 2. And for this research, we were focused on finding the natural products. So products that are already can be found in nature, because we want them to use them as a food additive to increase, to design a diet for diabetes type 2. Because maybe you're already familiar with some products. We have, for example, Unilever's margarine called Becel ProActiv. And this one already helps battle high cholesterol levels in the blood. So in the trend of this line of research, we were also focused on designing a product specifically for diabetes type 2 patients. And if you want to read more about it, there are 2 publications about this research. You can see them in the bottom right, but I think it's a bit too small, so you can just Google it and add SGLT, which is the protein that we target. I was also asked to fill in this this graph about my research. So where does it hold in this in the field of different kinds of research? So the research that I will talk about today is more on applied side, because it's really focused on a direct problem. Diabetes type 2 is also a growing problem and disease in this modern, let's say, world. And by designing this diet for diabetes type 2 problems, we have a direct impact on society. And also what I wanted to highlight is because we also use data science. So we replace actually lab experiments with computer models. This not only makes the process faster, but also has a positive impact on society, because it reduces the amount of chemicals that we need to test these compounds. So instead of using lab experiments, we use computer models. So now we get to what is the research actually about. So I already hinted to the word food bioactives because I said natural products, which in this case I mean the same thing, because these natural products that we're looking for, these food additives, are actually just molecules. And molecules can, of course, be found everywhere. And what we want to do is to find the specific molecules, the bioactives, that help in the treatment of diabetes type 2. And they have to be present in natural products before we can put them in food, because we prefer, of course, the use of natural substances in our food products. So the combination of finding an active molecule in the treatment of diabetes type 2, which is present in a natural product, so we can use them as an additive in food, which results in a food bioactive. So with food bioactive, I really intend to say a bioactive molecule that is found in natural products, such as plants, but also fungi or algae. It can be any natural source here. So how do we find this molecule that can help in the treatment of diabetes type 2? Well, then we find this transporter, the SGLT transporter. So this is actually a transporter that transport sodium and glucose into the blood. So here we see the small intestine. So if you eat something, you digest it, and it is present in the small intestine. This transport protein helps to get this glucose into your blood, so you have some energy and you can move around it. So this SGLT transporter can be an important target in the treatment of diabetes type 2, because with diabetes type 2, the blood glucose levels are too high. So here you can see that also the glucose is co-transported together with sodium into the blood. But what we want to do in the treatment of diabetes type 2 is to block this transporter so that the glucose cannot go into the blood anymore, but it proceeds its way out of the human body, let's say. So it doesn't enter the blood because this transporter is blocked. So this transporter, also called protein, this SGLT, is in our case the focused, the target of interest to block for our diet, for our diabetes type 2 diet. So what we want to do is to find a natural product that blocks this transporter so that the glucose cannot enter the bloodstream anymore. So as I said, this natural product that we're looking for is actually just a molecule. Well, there are thousands, or actually more, there are millions, uncountable number of molecules in the whole universe. And also we can make additional molecules just by chemistry and synthesis. So how do we point the correct molecule that is active on this SGLT transporter, so that can block this transporter? So how do we pinpoint the molecule of interest, which also has no toxic side effects, for example? We use that by using the data science and the computer models. So actually this happens in two phases. The first phase is that we need to make a model that can find these molecules. And the second step is to apply the model. Well, let's first go into the first step where we how we make this model. So as you can see here, I have like a single molecule, but one molecule isn't enough to make such a bioactivity model. So in the case of this SGLT research, I used approximately 3,500 molecules, of which we have known bioactivity. So we know if they will block or will not block this transporter that is involved in the treatment of diabetes type 2. And we put them, we put them into our computer. And then this computer can train itself, can learn to find the patterns which molecules are involved in blocking the transporter and which aren't. So you can code this molecule into a programming or not programming language, but for you can program. You can describe this model as as a bit string as information. So you have like 1D information that describes all the characteristics of this molecule. For example, you can see some rings here and some oxygen and some nitrogen atoms. And this is all encoded in this computer. So it can find the correlations between, for example, this ring and at this exact location and bioactivity. And with bioactivity, I mean here the ability to block the transporter. So we put in a few thousands of molecules into this computer model, and then we train the bioactivity model. And then we have a model that can say for a new molecule, if it's bioactive, yes or no. So this is in step 2. So here we see the bioactivity model that we had in the first step that we made here. And you can see here also the number 2 million. So you can see we trained the model only on a few thousand molecules, but what we put in, what we want to scan, are 2 million. And these are molecules that have unknown bioactivity. So we don't know yet if they will block the transporter or not, but this bioactivity model will tell us if it will or not. So as output, you can find the molecules that will are predicted to block this transporter. And those are the molecules that we're interested in. And of course, you can screen a large set of molecules, different kinds of libraries here. And if you're interested in natural products, of course, you want to add an exert filter to select only the molecules that are present in nature. So then, as a result, you find the bioactive molecules that are present in natural products. Well, what will the future bring? With this model, we already selected some compounds that are active on this transporter. But of course, this is a prediction on a computer. So a really essential step, a following step is the in vitro validation of these compounds. Because of course, we need some proof if this works in real life. And also these computational methods were now used in the treatment of, or in the design of a diet for diabetes type 2 patients. But of course, you can also apply these models to different kinds of diseases or protein targets. And here's actually where also the pharmaceutical side comes in, because before you can target the disease, you need to have a target, which was in our case this transporter. So if you know the target, you can easily apply this computational method to identify food bioactives for other purposes. And so now we will go into a poll. So the question is, how often do you take eat health promoting food additives? So think about, for example, vitamins, but also products like this Becel ProActiv, for example. So food products that say or claim to add something to your well-being.